Hello, 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 everyone, and happy Sunday. Welcome to Voices of Empowerment with Dr. B. I am your host and your narrator, Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee. I am a licensed therapist. I am a spiritual teacher. I am an astrologer. I am a community advocate. I do a lot of things in terms of help health, wellness, community advocacy, and all of the sort. And I am now here with you every Sunday and every Tuesday with our collective reading through great books, great books that we can grow from, expand in, learn from, gain other perspectives and things like that. Um, really kind of face some of the hard things. What we read collectively are things that can better us, things that can give us a better insight into ourselves, how we think, how we feel, how we process, how where we are in terms of what we need to grow and heal in. It's really accountability to it for one another. And so I am I'm grateful for this platform and every platform that I have where I can come together with every one of you, and hold hands and grow, get ourselves to the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be, which is an ongoing journey. Okay. We'll never be perfect, but we can absolutely take our steps towards perfection in every single way that we possibly can. There's always room to learn and grow in everything. And so, um, I welcome always. I always say to about myself, I remain in a posture of learning and growing, and I think that's so good and beneficial for all of us to do because. Don't get me wrong, the things that you're great at what you are great at. However, um, although you know the things that and you're great at what you're great at is not all there is to be great at. And what you know is not all there is to know. There's always more. There's always more. And you can stand in gratitude for what you know and what you have and what you're masterful in. But you can also be open to learning and growing in more areas, other areas, cultivating and fine tuning what it is that you have, just making yourself better and better. That's the journey of enhancement, being expanded, and yeah, and I love that for us. All of us are on this journey. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to introduce our book that we're reading through. It is Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent. This book is written by Isabel Wilkerson, and it is a very provocative, very confronting, very, oh God, healing book. I mean, it exposes the pains and hurts and the dysfunctions of our whole as a race, a human race. And it highlights areas and infractions that where we need to grow, where we need to heal, where we need to see ourselves. Where am I um, in this dysfunction? What have I contributed to it? You know, and oh my goodness, especially in today. Well, every zeitgeist there is um, some form of dysfunction. In every time, in every era, there is something. And I believe, especially with the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk, it's, I believe that there's so much dysfunction that we, don't get me wrong, we have come a, a long way, right? But it's unfortunate that although we've come a long way, we still have so far to go. We still have so far to go as a people, but it starts individually. It starts inside of our own selves. A lot of this dissension, a lot of this poison, this cancer, if you will, of divide and separation and segregation, we were born into it. We were born into it. Some of us were born into the families that uh, cultivated this poison. And some of us, while being born in it, we were cultivated in it ourselves. And so that to us is our norm. And so we can't fault what someone feels to be true based on what they've known all their lives. This has been bred, this has been embedded from the womb. And it's carried over into adulthood for some. Forgive me, you all, I have the sniffles here. I'm just saying, it's been a leaky faucet all day. But um, it's just, I don't know, man. It's separation, segregation, divide, fascism, colonialism, um, colonizing, racism. It's such a disease. It's such a disease. And unfortunately, we see it eating away at us as a whole, minute by minute, second by second. It is books like this that highlights the problem. Again, it is called The Origins of Our Discontent. In order for us to understand where we're going, we got to first identify where we have been and then where we are. Uh, we cannot heal what we refuse to reveal, and we have to own it. We have to face it. We have to own it. We have to take accountability for our part. What are we contributing to the collective of this disease that is eating away at us as a whole? How am I aiding in this? Oh my God, it's so much. It is so much. Okay, so we're going to get into the reading of our next chapter, which is, we're still in part 5, but we're going into chapter 23, which is entitled Shock Troops on the Borders of Hierarchy. We're airing live on multiple platforms. We're on Clubhouse, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, all of the platforms, okay? So wherever you're viewing from, I thank you for your presence. I thank you for your viewership. I thank you for your contribution, just your energy being here and joining us. And I also welcome you to utilize the comment section, utilize the chat section. That is what it's there for. To voice your opinion, say how you feel. This is a judgment free zone. You are free to say whatever you feel to add to the collective, to the conversation. That's what we're here for. We're reading and discussing. Um, Even if you disagree, good, bad, or ugly, agree or disagree, indifferent, whatever the case, this platform is a space for you to be free to say and feel. However, I don't have to agree. I don't have to like it, but it's your words, it's your voice, it's your thought. You have a right to it. And so, with respect to that, I'll give voice to it, and we will discuss. We'll delineate as properly as we can, with no intention of offending. We're just getting to the bottom of the topic at hand, okay? With our shared perspectives. Until I open myself up to hear from someone else with another point of view, another vantage point, then I'm only left with my own. And that is very limiting. It's very limiting, okay? Alrighty, you all listen. Again, use the chat section, use the comment section. I'll be here to read it. And until then, or if not, I'll just be reading through the chapter, okay? Here we are, chapter 23, Shock Troops of the Borders of Hierarchy. At the dinner hour on the 19th century steamboat in the antebellum South, the Caste ritual went as follows. At the first bell, the white passengers were seated with the captain for their meal. After they finished, the second bell rang for the white crewmen, the engineers, the pilot, the servants. Only after all of the white people on board of every class and status completed their meals would the third bell ring, and the black crewmen, slave or free, be permitted to eat. A problem arose, however, if there happened to be free black passengers in their midst. Free blacks paid their fare and were on paper in the same category as the white passengers. They were likely middle class, but what mattered was that they were lowest caste, and historically, caste trumps class. It was taboo for blacks and whites to sit, stand, or eat in the same space at the same time or even to use the same utensils. So they were not going to eat with their white counterparts or with the white crewmen who were presumably lower in class than they. But there was more to it than that. Free blacks were an affront to the caste system, always brushing against its borders. By their very existence, moving about as equals to the dominant caste, having the means to enter spaces considered the preserve of their betters, and having had the ingenuity to gain their freedom and to walk around in it, they threw the entire caste belief system into question. If people in the lowest caste had the capacity to be equal, why were they being enslaved? If they were smart enough to do something other than pick cotton or scrub floors, why then were they picking cotton and scrubbing floors? It was too mind twisting to contemplate. After the dinner service was cleared away and everyone else aboard had eaten and retired to their cabins or posts, the small group of black passengers, all women in this case, were permitted to eat in the pantry, standing at the butler's table. From the start of the caste system in America, people who were lowest caste, but who had managed somehow to rise above their station, have been the shock troops on the front lines of hierarchy. People who appear in places or positions where they are not expected can become foot soldiers in an ongoing quest for respect and legitimacy in a fight they had hoped was long over. Public conveyances and recreational spaces have been the sound stage for caste confrontation precisely because they bring together in a confined space for a limited time and purpose groups that have historically been kept apart. They become test tubes of caste interaction with its written and unwritten codes, its unspoken but understood rules of engagement. In 2015, the members of a Black women's book club were traveling by train on a wine tour of Napa Valley. They were laughing and chatting, as were other tourists, given the nature of the outing and what all the passengers had been imbibing. But they alone seemed to attract the notice of the maitre d'. When you laughed, the maitre d' told them, "I see it on the other passengers' faces." Soon the train stopped, and the black women, some of them senior citizens, were ejected and met by police, as if we were criminals, they later said. In 2018, the owner of a Pennsylvania golf club ordered black women club members to leave and call the police on them after white golfers complained that they were not moving fast enough. The women described themselves as experienced players aware of the game's protocols and said they had paced themselves according to the groups behind and in front of them. They said they noted that the men behind them were on break and were not ready to tee up. After arriving on the scene, the police determined that no charges were warranted, but the women said the confrontation had put them on edge and they left to avoid further humiliation. My work has required me to spend many, many hours in settings where I am often the only person of my ethnicity and gender, most often on planes. A flight attendant once commented on the miles I log year in and year out. You fly more than we do. Because I fly so often, I frequently have cause to be seated in first or business class, which can in turn me into a living, breathing social experiment without wanting to be. The things that have happened to me are far from the most grievous a person might suffer when traveling in a domain that can bring out the worst in most anyone. But some have stood out as a commentary on caste and action and can be demoralizing in the unexpected moment of intrusion. For a flight out of Denver, I happened to be one of the first to board the plane, along with others in the front cabin. I could see the lead flight attendant greeting passengers at the boarding door. He was a man in his late 20s or early 30s, short blondish hair, and behind him was a second flight attendant, her brunette hair in a French twist. The, ten, the tendinitis in my wrist, tendinitis, got it, okay, in my wrist had been flaring up, and I stepped onto the plane with a splint on my forearm. I looked over to the lead flight attendant for help with my carry on. Sir, I said, I'm having a problem with my wrist, and I wondered if you would help me get my bag in the bin. He looked past me to the men behind me at the boarding door, the kind of men who would come to mind when you think of first class. He waved me along as if I were holding up the line, though no one was moving at the moment. He seemed insulted even to have been asked, as if I was not aware of how the boarding process worked. There were two flight attendants in the back, he said. There are two flight attendants in the back. They can help you when you get back there. With those curt instructions, it was as if he had pulled me out of a lineup, singled me out from the other business travelers as the one who on sight did not belong, the one trespassing and now seeking special treatment to which I was not entitled. Marginalized people have a hard enough time moving about in the world built for others. Now it was as if I were taking up space that belonged to its rightful passengers. It came as a shock to me, perhaps because this clipped dismissal came from a man whose generation would not be expected to hold such retrograde assumptions. Somehow the air had turned confrontational. I had asked for something he did not believe I deserved. But I'm in first, I said. That seemed only to make things worse. He had been caught in his moment of stereotyping and in front of others. He had disregarded all information, inputs to the contrary, that I was boarding early, that luggage tags dangling from my bag I was seeking help with proclaimed that I had reached the highest possible level of loyalty to his airline. He could only have come to the conclusion he made on the basis of one thing alone: what I looked like. He tried to recover from the faux pas of an openly dismissive caste assumption for what is caste if not where one belongs in a hierarchy. He had to find a way to retain his own caste position now that a flight attendant under him in the airline's hierarchy had heard him speak so brusquely to a passenger, wherever she happened to be seated. Well, leave it here, and we'll have to see what to do with it, he said, sighing as if it were a bass violin instead of a rolling bag. The woman flight attendant who stood there during the exchange stepped forward and tried to set things right, cover for him for her superior. Here, she said, let me help you with it. What seat are you in? She walked me to the seat and helped me hoist the bag into the bin. I thanked her for her kindness. It was uncomfortable the rest of the flight. He was the only attendant in that cabin, and each time he passed through the aisle, the tension rose. I could feel the edge of it. He had been outed, and he punished me with the curt hostility until we landed. It was a late night flight from Portland, Oregon to the East Coast. I had just boarded, and the flight attendant and I were looking for space to fit my rolling bag into the haphazardly filled overhead compartments. Every time the flight attendant and I touched the bag to turn it on its side or to move it to the next bin, someone said, no, you can't touch that one. That's my bag. The man in the aisle seat behind me had two carry-ons overhead, taking up more space than allowed. I was anxious to get seated and out of this uncomfortable testing of wheels. I offered to let him put his bag under my seat so that it would not take up space in front of him. Anything to get the bag stored and get on my way. I'd be glad to do it, I told him and the flight attendant. He let out a heavy sigh. I put my bag where I wanted it. I don't want it under another seat. He took the bag from the flight attendant and shoved it under his own seat. He then began complaining to the man in the window seat beside him. A man like him from the dominant caste seated directly behind me. That's what happens when they let just anybody in first class, the owner of the bag said to the man next to him, loud enough for anyone around him to hear. They should know better how to treat paying customers. I paid for my first class ticket, and this is how they treat you. The two men commiserated the whole flight, having found common cause and united by a shared resentment. It was a night flight, and I was exhausted from a long day of lectures. I needed to sleep. I let down the seat back. What did I do that for? The man in the window seat behind me, who had been grousing about the unfairness of it all with the man whose bag had been moved, let out a howl. What do you think you're doing? He yelled. I'm trying to work here. Look what you've done. I've got my laptop out and you shoved it into me. He slammed the back of my seat and pounded the tray forward, jostling me as he continued to hit from behind. I had no control over the setback, I told him, looking back. I'm just trying to get some rest. I looked over at the white man next to me, who had seen all of this, who would have felt the shudder of my seat being pushed behind from behind. He would not return a glance, insulating me further. The men behind me continued to talk about the intrusions into first class. The air was thick with venom and made it impossible to sleep. I got up to tell the flight attendant to see if she might be able to help. I am desperately tired and I need to sleep, I told her. The man behind me is shoving my seat and making it impossible to get rest. Is there anything you can do? Could you explain the rules to him to diffuse the situation? Frankly, I don't know if it could help, she said. Why don't you stay up here the rest of the flight? I need to rest, I told her. I can't sleep standing up. And besides, I have a seat. I should be able to sit in it. I know, she yelled. I don't know what to tell you. It's up to you if you want to stay up here or go back. I went back and sat up straight across the length of the country. The caste system had put me in my place. Wow. I had been up since before 5 in the morning for the flight out of Idaho Falls. The original flight was canceled, the second one delayed, and now finally, I was on the last leg of the journey, the connecting flight out of Salt Lake City that would not get me in until 10:30 p.m. I was in seat T2D, a window in first, the only passenger in that cabin who was African American. The lead attendant was a black man, small in frame, cheerful and efficient. What are you having, my friend? He asked the male passengers as he chatted them up. And you, he said, terse and impatient, when he got to me. Upon landing, the mad shuffle began for everyone's respective bag in the overhead compartments. Passengers crowded into the aisle, and I was standing behind a man who looked to be in his 30s, his light hair in a buzz cut. He asked the woman next to him if she needed help with her bag. He pulled it down for her, and she thanked him. Then he began to reach for his own bag. It was in the compartment above and behind me. He did not speak nor gesture in my direction. Instead, he reached back and up and over me, wordlessly leaned further and further, his body at a backward angle against mine, pinning me under his torso and leaving me no escape because of the wall of passengers packed behind me. I was in disbelief, forced to arch my body back as he rammed himself harder against me, heavy and sweaty, swifting his feet now, shoving his thick arm across my face and against the side of my neck to unloosen the bag from the compartment. He thrust his full weight, his entire frame, into mine, his back muscles crushing my breast, his buttocks protruding from into my pelvis, isolating my body in full view of other passengers, and no one was saying or doing a thing. Hey, I can't go back any further, I told him in a plea for help, loud enough for everyone around me to hear. He said nothing, as if I were not there, as if nobody were there, as if the laws of physics or privacy did not apply. I tried to hold my head away from his shoulder blades so that I could breathe. It was taking the ground crew forever to open the boarding door. I looked around for whoever could recognize the horror of a complete stranger forcing himself onto you. I looked over to the two young women who were inches away, who could see what he was doing. I gave them a look of distress and shock at the man's aggression. I was needing empathy. They were standing so close. They could share a sense of womanly outrage at what was happening, but their faces were blank. They looked into space, returned no glance. A silence of complicity had overtaken the entire first class cabin, and I was alone in a packed compartment. Not one of these passengers would have lost their job or a promotion, lost money or privilege had they stood up that day. Very likely, they would never see these other passengers again in their lives, and stepping up would have had no material consequences. But that day, with so very little at stake to themselves, they chose caste solidarity over principle, tribe over empathy. The boarding door finally opened, the passengers filed out, and the man finally eased his behind off of me. The black flight attendant, who had seen all of it, had not come to my aid nor spoken up, though he was the flight attendant in charge. As I approached the door, he looked up at me, sheepish and shamefaced. "I'm really sorry," he said. "Thanks, I know," I said, shaking my head. He hadn't intervened. He too seemed powerless. He couldn't likely have taken the risk. This was an upper caste man assaulting a lower caste woman, and the lead attendant was lower caste himself. The lead attendant very likely had no idea what the man's position might be, what power and influence he might have. Why should he stick his neck out for me and get on the bad side of heaven knows who? The man had bullied me out in the open with witnesses all around who pretended not to see. The lead attendant likely felt it would do him no good to get involved. In a caste system, things work more smoothly when everyone stays in their place, and that is what he did. I was shaking and livid. Once off the plane and out in the terminal, the man who had forced me into a vertical spoon with him in front of an audience was walking with a brisk swagger several paces ahead of me. He knew full well what he had done. Cocking his head back at me, he spat out a curt "sorry" and kept walking with the entitlement that comes from knowing he could get away with it. There would be no consequences. Not one person had stepped to my defense or shown a blink of compassion. A host of factors might have made things different. Perhaps it was the lateness of the hour that inured some people. Maybe it was just a singular combination of personalities that left me without anyone to stand up to it. Change one or two seats with different people, and there might have been a different outcome. One thing seemed certain. Had an African American man pressed his body against a white woman the way this man had, it is hard to imagine that no one on board would have intervened, if only to say to him, "I'll get your bag for you so you can get off of her." Over the course of American history, Black men have died for doing far less to white women than what he did to me that night. You might say, "Why didn't you complain to the airline? Why didn't you tell him off?" Those questions belie the situation. This was not the fault of the airline. As for the man who did this, he ignored my protest of his behavior. This happened because good people were silent and let it happen. I was too disgusted to reply as the man swaggered ahead of me. I made my way to the other side of the passenger walkway and continued until he was out of sight. Incursions such as these are more than personal insults and unfortunate misunderstandings. Fighting convention, fighting to be seen and treated for who you truly are, diminishes the human contract, demeans everyone, and worsens the well being of people on all sides of these caste skirmishes. The most brazen castes lead to violence, a hallmark of a caste system at the breaking point. In 2013, on a flight into Atlanta, a white passenger actually slapped a Black baby in the face because the baby was crying due to the change in altitude upon descent. Such an assault would be virtually inconceivable had a baby from the dominant caste been crying, no matter his decibel level. In 2017, a Vietnamese American passenger was dragged off of United Airlines plane in Chicago, suffering injuries in his head and knocking out some of his teeth. The airline had discovered that it had overbooked the flight, and no passenger took the airline up on offers of compensation in exchange for giving up their seats. The airline chose 4 passengers at random by computer to be ejected. The first 3 passengers left the plane without incident, but the Vietnamese American man, a physician named David Dale, said he had an urgent need to get back to his patients. He said he had paid his fare and should not have to give up his seat. The airline called security to remove him, and he was dragged by his legs in front of stunned passengers. Captured on a video that quickly went viral, the incident drew outrage across the country and in Asia. Dale said he was convinced that his ethnicity was a factor in his treatment, that this would not have happened to a white man or most many any other stature. The ordeal, he said, was more horrifying than when he fled Vietnam. Even 3 years later, watching a video of his violent removal again, he said, ABC News, I just cried. Wow. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. All the time. It's so unfortunate. And in the most minuscule ways, guys, it really, really does. See, in the dominant caste, you don't see the problem because it hasn't happened to you. It doesn't happen to you. But for the subordinate caste, the quote unquote minorities, which I absolutely despise that word, it happens to us all the time. Being overlooked, being looked past, looked over, dismissed, underappreciated, underrecognized, underrespected, or disrespected completely. It happens all the time. And it's sad. It's really, really sad. I mean, still, these dates, these incidents that she just mentioned were 2018, 2015. Let's talk about as recent as last week, last year, yesterday. It happens all the time. And it can be seen as condescending, belittling, because how dare you think yourself equal to us? It's so crazy that all of this is based on skin color that we had no control over. This is what I don't understand. This is what I do not understand. We all bleed the same blood. We feel the same feelings. We live the same existence. However, skin color, not heart, not characteristics, not morals, not any of that. Skin color, ethnicity determines how much respect a person gets. I am a doctor. I am a doctor. I work very hard. Those of you who all are doctors, you understand what it took to obtain your title. And yet, I sometimes, by others, colleagues, am not treated like one. Am not respected as such. I also am one that don't wear it on my shoulders. You know how some people, it's the arrogance of it all. I don't do that. In fact, a lot of people don't even know my background, my experience, a lot of that stuff, unless it's necessary to discuss. I don't speak about it. I have lived wonderful experiences. I have accomplished many, 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 many things. Many things. I'm an author. Again, I'm a doctor, therapist. I am a former recording artist, recorded from the age of 5. President of a record label, A&R, musician, writer, toured with some of your favorite artists to date, business owner, opened brick and mortar businesses, had full staffs, founded and operate a nonprofit organization, 501c3, do major work in the community, hosted, produced, founded an organization that honors individuals, unsung heroes in the community, throughout the community. So much more. Have my own practice. Still pursuing education for the new state that I now reside in. Still working, still helping, still doing advocacy for marginalized and underprivileged people, children, families, returning citizens, to help reduce recidivism. A lot of things that I do, but because I am a Black woman, a lot of them are underseen, underappreciated, dismissed. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Even down to value and worth, how much you should be paid and all of that. All of that. In my own private practice, my hourly rate is $180. And I get paid that because I'm that good. Okay? So when I am to negotiate a wage outside of my practice, I am expected to take what's given. Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Who do you think you are telling us how much you're worth? We tell you. That's why I appreciate setting my own rules for my own business, because I don't have to worry about being undervalued anywhere else. I value myself. I don't need anyone else to value me. I say what my time and efforts and experience is worth in my own practice, where I set the rules. Understand that anything that I do outside of what I do and how I, in my own platforms, it's because I have a passion and a heart to do it. Literally. Literally. Okay. But I will never, ever allow disrespect. I don't care where I am and who I'm working with. Ever. I didn't allow it before. I won't allow it now. If we are all, especially with understanding that as recent as 2 generations back, my elders and ancestors were in the fields. Just 2 generations, grandparents. Mm-hmm. And of course, 3 generations back, they were also. And then prior to that, my background and bloodline is both African and indigenous, Native American. And both were treated horribly. Both were lynched, raped, pillaged, hung, massacred. Both by the upper caste, just because they felt, we have privilege. You don't. You're beneath us. That disease has carried throughout the centuries, throughout the years. That disease has carried. And unfortunately, we have allowed it to penetrate our souls. And we're spewing it. No matter how subtly you think it is being spewed. It is. I have seen so much rhetoric and vitriol be spewed as a result of the unfortunate assassination of Charlie Kirk. I have just sat back and observed. I usually don't give a public opinion of any sort, because and if you follow any of my platforms, you don't see any personal anything. because who I am personally is not in question. I put out content that is beneficial to you, not giving a peek into my personal life, because number one, I keep and hold near and dear my personal life. Those who are privy to viewing into my personal life, they have earned that right to look into my personal life. I don't just freely give that glimpse to anybody. No. I hold my personal life, my personal family, my in immediate circles and events and things like that. That is sacred to me. I protect it as such. Because 9 times out of 10, those who are viewing my platform are probably likely just being nosy anyway. They just want to see what's going on, have something to talk about. So if anybody want to talk, I give them good positive things to talk about. Talk about healing. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about coming together and being whole, being one, encouraging one another, healing, growing, releasing, purging, elevating, expanding, learning, respecting, loving. That's what we talk about collectively. But my personal private life is mine. It's mine, and I hold it near and dear. And those who are privy to it, I only want those who love me genuinely, not not superficially, not conditionally. I want those who love me genuinely and wholly to know my personal inner workings. Nothing more, nothing less. If you're not privy to that information, it's because I have not vetted you properly. You haven't been vetted properly enough to be given that glimpse. Trust me. I respect you. But we may be associates, acquaintances, and have yet to graduate to the friend family level to be given that glimpse. You know? I have to prove that you're trustworthy, that my story is safe in your hands, right? That my gifts are safe in your hands. Now, me personally, I am a safe space. I pride myself on it. I don't say things that I don't mean. I don't say things just to, make a person believe that I'm a certain type of person. If I don't mean it, it does not come out of my mouth. I promise you that I've been this way my whole life. I am genuinely who I say I am. Unfortunately, I can't say that about a lot of people because they've proven to be one way in front of you and then another way behind you. With me, what you get is what you get. That's who I am. That is who I am. You can take that to the bank. You can ask my mother and father that. That's how you can determine. Ask the people around them and they will tell you. I am this. This is who I am to my core. And if I can't trust your motives, if I don't know you like that, I'm a huge empath as well. So whether you say it or not, your disposition says it. Energetically, I feel your energy. I feel the frequencies coming from you. So I know exactly what to do and how and when to do it, what I can and cannot disclose, just simply by your disposition and your energy. I protect me fiercely, savagely. I do. I truly do. I don't play with me. Hello, Celeste. How are you, my love? I do not play with me. I don't play about me. Because we see here in this society, and even in others, again, no matter the zeitgeist, we see that everybody cannot be trusted. Mm-mm. No, there's motives. There's ugliness in there sometimes. Far too many times, marginalized cultures have been deceived by a smiling face, by a seemingly helpful hand, only to take that hand to be trusted. And the marginalized communities take that hand, and that hand leads them straight to the butcher's block. It's happened. Look at the Tuskegee experiment. The people were offered a helping hand, free vaccines, free medical insurance for life, only if they were to take this vaccination. They were not told that that vaccination was going to cause them to die. Yeah. Tuskegee experiment. That's why a lot of brown and black people did not trust the COVID shot, because it was very reminiscent of the Tuskegee experiment. You have got to understand our hesitation. Over and over again, it's been proven that we're not safe. 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 Because the dominant caste has not created a safe space for us. We are not safe. Even in the movement of the BLM, Black Lives Matter, what others heard is that we think we're special. No, you missed it. That's what you wanted to hear. See, people don't see things or hear things from the way that it is. They hear it from where they are. They see it from where they are. What the people were saying is that Black lives matter as well. Brown lives matter as well. We all matter. We all matter, but for some reason, we have to scream it from a mountaintop to get others to understand. We all matter. Whether you like to admit it or not, we all matter. We all matter. Our lives matter too. We're just as special as well. We're just as special. We were all created by the Creator. We were all created by the Creator. And crazy part is, humanity started in a land that was overtaken, that was stolen from. That's crazy. Africa, come on now. How do we go from royalty to subservient? How did that happen? How do we go from royalty, kings and queens, gods and goddesses? How do we, empresses and emperors, how do we go from that to being diminished to the lowest of the low in these Americas? How did that happen? How did that happen? That's why I will never buy into the term minority. There's nothing minor about me. Even as an entrepreneur, I will never call my business a small business. There's nothing small about what I do. Call it what you want. There's nothing small or minor about me or anything that my hands touch or create, cultivate. Nothing. Your words have power. Your words have power. Your words have power. Okay? And the moment that we understand each other's power, each other's gifts, each other's jewels, and appreciate them for what they are, and appreciate and value the being in which it comes from, we will be able to do this thing called life properly. Properly. It starts with us. It starts with your heart. That's where the disease is, right there. So we have to perform heart surgery on ourselves. You have to course correct yourself. It is not brown and black people's job to convince white people or train white people on how to treat us. It is you all's job to sit with each other and highlight and point out the disease within that system and correct yourselves. That's the point right there. We should not have to tell you all that our lives matter. You should be able to say to each other, hey, that was wrong. Do not treat that person that way. That's what should be happening. And vice versa, okay? Because some of us, brown and black people, are just as diseased. Don't get me wrong. Is it justified? I'm sure it can be, but wrong is wrong. Ugly is ugly. So if we have to correct ourselves in the way that we come across and what we do, it has to happen. It's a heart matter. It is a heart issue. Heal the heart, and the rest will follow. Heal the heart, and the rest will follow. Heal the heart, and the rest will follow. Okay? On Tuesday, when we come together to read chapter 24, that chapter is entitled Cortisol, Telomeres, and the Lethality of Caste. Cortisol, telomeres, and the lethality of caste, okay? If you do not have this book, every book that we read collectively is made available to you free of charge. Yes, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Yes, we do accept donations. However, they are not required, although they are welcome. We do make it available for any and everybody who wants the book or materials. Of course, we will want you to join us and to journey with us through these books that we're reading, but it's up to you. You're not required to do so. I would want you to simply just have the book, okay? If you want your copy, feel free to email me at info@biancamissblee.com. Again, info@biancamissblee.com. Request your copy and let me know which email address you would like me to send your PDF copy to. Again, this is free of charge to you. Don't worry about having to pay. It's already been purchased once. You don't have to pay for it again, okay? Speaking of contacting me, you can go to the website and see what it is that I do. I am a doctor in psychology. I am a therapist. I am an author. I have merchandise both on my website and on Walmart.com. Okay, you can get it from me if you want to get it from me. You don't have to go through the channels of Walmart. It's perfectly fine. Um, also, I am an astrologer and I am a reader and things like that. So I do all of the things spiritually connected, cosmically connected. I do all of those things. Okay, I also do birth natal charts and all of the things. Okay, so go to my page and you'll get, if you're unaware about what those things are listen at my grammar. If you're unaware about what those things are, you go to my webpage. You can look at each item and it's a breakdown of what it entails and things like that. Okay, so Clubhouse, you can tap above my head. That link will send you straight to the website and you can enjoy from there. Okay, also guys, follow me on social media: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of the places at Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee. Again, Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee. Alrighty, you all, listen. This has been great. I hope you have a great and amazing rest of your Sunday. Enjoy it, enjoy it, enjoy it. Tomorrow is Monday. I want you to go into your week. Start off strong. Start off great. Okay. It is 5:55. I just looked at the time. 5:55 Eastern Standard Time. Okay. 555 is the number of change. Go into your week and make great change, okay? Whether you're changing something within yourself, whether you're changing the environment that you're in, whether you're changing the lives that you touch, provoke change, okay? Change for the better. All righty, you all. Listen, as you already know, I love you. I mean it. There is absolutely positively nothing you can do about it. Don't you even try it. We'll see you back here on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Voices of Empowerment. Peace.